Welcome to Mary's Stitching Corner. My name is Mary and this is my channel about cross stitch. So it's been a while since my last video. I think I filmed it at the end of October and I was planning on filming at the end of November, beginning of December, but we had some health stuff going on here with me and my daughter. And then when December rolled around, there were so many videos going up for Flossmas and we were spoiled for choice. And so I decided just to hang on and wait. So here I am, better late than never. Welcome back. If you are a returning viewer, I appreciate you so much. Appreciate all your comments, all your support. Thank you for being here. And if you're new, welcome. I hope you enjoy what you see and please hit like and subscribe. So we will dive right in. So first of all, Happy New Year. I hope it's going to be a good one for you. 2024 was a hard one for us and I'm hoping for a better year this year. So hopefully we'll have lots of time to stitch and have a lot of fun doing that. So I already started this video and when I was watching it, every time I moved it was like it was in slow motion and I thought there is something really weird going on. I had it on time lapse, so we're trying again. Anyway, I'm going to be looking at my notes because I have a lot to share. So forgive me for looking down. What I decided to do is kind of do a regular video plus a WIP parade. If you've been here for a while, you know that I usually don't have a ton of WIPs. So, and you usually see them throughout the year because I pull them out for challenges and everything. So I decided just to combine the two. So we can talk about the finishes I've had since last time I saw you. I think I have 6 finishes. I have a bunch of new starts. And we can talk about WIP Go, what I'm working on for WIP Go this month. Then we can go through my WIPs. We can talk about my plans, the challenges that I'm involved in. And then at the end, we can talk about the books that I've read this year and a little bit about life. So we'll start with the finishes. And some of these you haven't seen. Some of these are starts and finishes. So, but I'm showing them in no particular order. Just grabbed what I have and anyway, let's get going. Hopefully I can remember the fabrics, but I'm already looking at this one and I don't remember what the fabric is. So if you have any questions about anything that I've shown, please comment and I'll try and find out the information for you. Also, I'll try and link the information down below in the description box also. Okay, so this is Thankful Notes by Shepherd's Bush, and I've been slowly working through most of these. This is 32 count something by Stitch Me. And some people stitch these and they don't add the buttons and they still look really cute, but I've enjoyed adding the buttons to them. The next finish is Merry Notes by Shepherd's Bush. I love these. They're very quick to stitch. And I love how tiny they are. I'm going to guess they're about 4 inches tall by 2.5, 3. So this is Merry Notes, and it's stitched on what I thought was 32 count Stormy Night, but I think it might be 28 count. I think it was mislabeled. So mostly I've used the DMC conversion. Sometimes if I have a fancy floss that's close to what they're calling for, then I'll use it, but usually I don't have the fancy floss that they're calling for, so I'll just pull out my DMC, and I think they look great. They're so tiny that I don't think you really need the fancy flosses for most of the stuff on here because they're so small. This is Winter Cottage by Lucie Heaton Designs. And I stitched this on tiny neutral snowflakes, 18 count by Fabric Flair. And this one was a challenge. I made a lot of mistakes in here. And I got Pattern Keeper in the middle of the year, and once I uploaded it to Pattern Keeper, it was so much easier. So I think it looks great, but it was a challenge for me to do this one. So this one is called Autumn Village by NaraXstitch Designs, I think, on Etsy. And she's got some gorgeous, gorgeous charts. I love this. This was really fun. And this is a 32 count from Bestitch Me, and I can't remember the name. Sorry about that. So I noticed that Beth on Crafts and Books, no, sorry, that's her Facebook page. The Steadfast Stitcher has started a new design by NaraXstitch Designs, and it's autumn themed, and I'm so tempted to start it. It's gorgeous. So I may have to do that down the road. And the next two I started with Laura from Stitching by the Shore. We started these on December 1st. And if you watch Laura, you know that she is really challenging herself in the sense that she's stitching both of these twice. So she's stitching both of them on different fabrics with different floss. So she's going to have two completely different feels for the design. It's amazing what a fabric choice can do to the feel of a design. But anyway, check her out and you'll see what she's doing with these. So this one is Spirit of Christmas by Textilly. And this was so fun. And it stitched up very quickly. So this is 20 count white Aida. And I want to say maybe it was Apple Fritter is the floss that I used. If you want to know, let me know and I'll check that for you. I love how it turned out. This was really fun. So she's on Etsy. She's got some really cute designs. She also has a Flosstube, I think. And the last finish is Cozy Christmas Cottage by Modern Folk Designs, right? My mind is going blank today. And I stitched this on 20 count with the same floss that I used for the one you just saw. And I love it. This was really fun too. So those are my finishes. Now I had 39 finishes throughout the year. I thought about doing a finish parade, but if you're interested in that, let me know, and I'll try and squeeze one in. So now I'll start with my new starts. Have to turn the fan on. These wonderful hot flashes. I just think they're never going to go away. After 13 years, I just don't think they'll go away. All right, new starts. So I had quite a few new starts in December. Most of them are Christmas themed, if not all. So the first one is Christmas Terrarium by Tiny Modernist. I've really enjoyed these. I did the Halloween one, which I loved, and I'm enjoying this one too. I think she's got quite a few. I've got one that another one that I'm planning on starting soon. And this is where I am. This is 18 count. And I cannot remember the name of the fabric. Again, I apologize. It's by Fiber on a Whim. And I'm using the called for floss, except the white instead of blanc. I'm using B5200. So I'm enjoying that. I just started this one the other day, so I don't have much done, but this is Winter Notes by Shepherd's Bush. And I'm stitching this on 32 count Basalt Splash, I think, by Zweigart. And I've only got a tiny bit done. And I chose this fabric so I didn't have to stitch the French knots. So I'm going to have to change a bunch of the colors on this one because this fabric is darker than the code for, and some of the colors are just blending in too much. This next one I started with Laura, and there's a few people stitching it. Andrew, the runner stitcher, he stitched quite a bit on this throughout December on his Flossmas videos. So I think he's finished with the house. And I was watching Those Missing Stitches the other day, Lynn, and she's working on this one too. So this is Santa's House by Cottage Garden Samplings. I don't have a lot done. This is so much more stitching than you think. So this is what I've done. The colors are gorgeous. I'm using the called for colors, so it's mostly DMC, but there's two fancy flosses. One of them is Plymouth Rock, which is what I'm using for the roof, and Ladybug is the red, one of the reds, which is so pretty. They're by Classic Colorworks, and I'm stitching this on 18 count smoky blue by Fabric Flair. And I'll keep stitching on Christmas. You know, if something comes up for a challenge or for WIP Go, whatever, I'll keep stitching it even if it's out of season. I know some people like to put Christmas stuff away, which makes sense if you have tons and tons of WIPs, but since I don't, I just keep rotating them. Another one that I started is Christmas Reindeer, and I'm not going to read that. There's the name of the company. This one's really cute, but oh my gosh, the colors. This is very small, 95 by 90, and this is how many colors there are, and there's a lot of blends. So, but it's looking really, really good. So this is what I have done. Isn't that a cute face? So this is also on Smoky Blue 18 count by Fabric Flair, using the called for floss. So, and I'm somebody that likes to work on projects that have a lot of color changes. I don't love block stitching because I find it kind of boring, but yeah, this one is intense with the number of, or the amount of color changes. So, but I think it's going to look amazing when it's done. Another one I started is my first Luca S kit, and it's called Little House in the Forest. And this has a lot of color changes too. And I want to say thank you. There were a couple of you that helped me. I had problems loading this into Pattern Keeper, and there were a couple of you that helped me, and I kept saying it's not working, but it was completely user error. I was missing a step. So with this, you have to enter the floss manually, and I would do that, but then it just wouldn't show up. It wouldn't work, but there was an arrow that I wasn't clicking on to save it. So anyway, now it's on Pattern Keeper, and I'm really glad because the color changes in this are quite intense too. So this is what I have done. I'm using all of the kit materials. So it's been fun. I think it's 16 count Aida that comes with the kit, but it's not like the Dimensions Aida, which is so stiff it could stand on its own. This is much softer. It's not horribly soft, that it's really floppy, but yeah, I really like it. And the floss seems to be good quality. So far I'm impressed. And my last new start is one that I started on New Year's Day. So every New Year's I do a New Year, New Start. And this is the one that I chose this year. And I'm stitching along with Laura. And there's quite a few people that are either stitching it or wanting to start stitching it. So I'm stitching it with Laura at Stitching by the Shore. Sharon on Instagram, Might As Well Stitch. One of the ladies from Cross Stitch the Globe is stitching along with us, and I'm sorry, I can't remember which of you is doing it. And I know that Lynn from Those Missing Stitches she started last month. And there's a few people that have commented on Instagram that are going to be starting it too. So this is a very popular chart, and it's called Black Roses by Owl Forest Embroidery. I have a very small start. My husband's been home for the holidays, and yeah, there just wasn't a lot of time for me to really get into this. But I also started stitching it with a different floss and then changed it, so I had to frog and start again. But this is where I am. This is maybe 315 stitches. So I'm stitching on 18 count antique white Aida, and I'm using DMC 310. I started it with using black sulky, and it just didn't have the coverage that I wanted, because I stitched black vintage sampler from Owl Forest Embroidery the year before last, and even though they're different sizes, I wanted them to match, and I really love how the black vintage sampler turned out. And the sulky just didn't give me the same fullness that I had on the black vintage sampler, so I switched to DMC 310, and I really, really like it. So I'm looking forward to stitching along with everyone this year. Okay, those are my new starts. So now we'll get into my WIPs. And we can start with my WIP Go numbers for January. So the numbers that were called were number 11 and number 20. And number 20 is one that I just showed you. If I can find it again. And it's Christmas Terrarium. So this will get 15 hours. So I try to do an hour a day on each number that's called. So far, I've done 4 hours on this one because I pulled it out for a challenge. And the other one that was called, number 11, is Happy Harvest by Sue Hillis Designs. And I'm glad this was called, because I feel like this was one that I started last year but didn't make a ton of progress on. So when I've done my 15 hours on Christmas Terrarium, then I'll switch and do 15 hours on this one. So this is, I think it's 28 count mushroom. So I quite enjoyed it. There's a lot of back stitching up here on these vines, and there's a lot of back stitching in the chart, so I'm trying to do it as I go. So it'll be nice to make some really good progress on both of these this month. You've seen this one a lot. Summer Quaker by Lila Studio. I started this a year and a half ago. So this is one that I am determined to finish this year. And I think it's definitely doable. I finally finished the border. And when I came, let me see, when I came over here, it didn't match up. So I had a bit of finagling to do to get that to work, but we got it sorted out. And so now I've just started working on the center again. And there's a lot of stitching there, but I'm pretty close to starting on the mermaid. And this is stitched on 18 count Aqua by Fabric Flair using the code for DMC. So I'm excited to get this finished. Last year it seemed like I had more bigger projects than normal. And so it feels like I guess it feels like my progress was slower, but we'll get there. Okay, this is Christmas Jar Ornaments by Dimensions. And I've already finished this one, and I'm working on this one. And I think I'm going to be done after that. This is one that I never want to pull out. It's a shame because it's really cute. I'm almost done. So I want to get this finished this year. And maybe down the road I'll feel like doing the last one, but for right now I definitely need a break. Okay, this one I have to show the picture on my iPad. If I can find it. Okay, this is Pretty Little India by Satsuma Street. If you're new, one of my daughters is from India. And this is where I am. And this is another one that has so many colors. But I love it. This is 18 count Celestine by Fiber on a Whim, using the code for DMC. Okay, I forgot to pull the chart for this one. Here it is. Okay, this is Prairie Schooler's Summer Breeze. And I've already stitched winter, autumn, and spring. So this is the last one in the series. and I haven't worked on this much at all this year. Which is a shame because they actually stitch out pretty quickly. So this is being stitched on 18 count vintage country mocha using the code for DMC. I think once I've done this square, which is full coverage, things will start moving faster again. Sorry, I've got hanging threads on most of my projects. So hopefully this will be done this year. The next one is another one that Laura and I are stitching. This is Sampler Seasons Autumn by Blueberry Ridge Designs. And this is being stitched on 18 count Cafe au lait from Fiber on a Whim, and I'm using the code for Floss, which is Weeks Dye Works Rust, and 1/1. I think it's 18 counts. Yeah. So I've got the winter chart, which when I finish this one, I'll do the winter one next. And then I'm sure I'll do summer and spring at some point. This is Halloween and Quilt. And I'll let you read the name of the designer. I think maybe they're Italian. Maybe. Anyway, this is a really fun and different Halloween design. This is another one I haven't made much progress on. This is 18 count Dune by Bestitch Me, and I really like this because the colors are quite different for Halloween. I've just started on the house, I think, over here in the first block. So I think it's going to look really cute. This is Lady Halloween by Jardin Privé. Another one I haven't made a lot of progress on this year. But I finished the first page, so now on page 2. I think there's 4 pages. So I'm using the code for floss mostly, except I had to substitute this silvery gray was a darker gray, but it wasn't showing up on the fabric very well. And then I'm adding pops of color here and there, like I did her hair in orange, and I've added some purple bubbles there. And again, as with every project I do, there's mistakes. So this wand is supposed to be taller, but I don't know how I messed up, but I did. But I think it looks fine. So this is 18 count Lavender by Fabric Flair. American Sampler by Plum Street. And I feel like I made, this is a big piece, so I feel like I did make some progress on this. It was used in a few challenges, which helps. So this is 20 count vintage country mocha, and I'm using the code for floss, which is a mix of Classic Colorworks, Weeks Dye Works, and DMC. So I don't remember where I was when I showed it last time, but I think I've made pretty good progress since then. I know I was working down here and did all the fencing, and now I'm up here doing the roof. I would like to get this finished this year, but there's a lot of stitching in this, so we'll see. This is Heart of Summer by Little Dove Designs. And I have all 4. And the plan is to stitch all of them. This is one, I'm over 50% on this one, so I think I could get it done this year. So this is being stitched on 18 count Valor by Picture This Plus. And again, I've got hanging threads, I apologize. So I think when this is done, this is Heart of Summer. I don't know. I don't know if I'll do spring or jump into autumn for the next one. Depends when I get it done, I suppose. So I love Little Dove Designs. She's got really, really cute charts. I'm using the code for DMC. Christmas Village Ornaments by Dimensions. So I finished this one, and I'm working on this one. And then I'm taking a break. And maybe next year I'll jump back in again. But these are quite stitch intensive, as all Dimensions are. Dimensions Gold. So that's where I am. So I don't have much to do on this. I definitely think I could finish this in the next few months. I've been trying to do a lot of the back stitching as I go, because I have 2 Dimensions projects that I've finished other than the back stitching, and they've been sitting here for six or 7 years, just waiting for the rest of the back stitching to be done. So that's what taught me you have to do it as you go. I do, because it will just languish if I don't. Okay, Jardin Privé, Composition Florale, number 1, 2, and 3. So these can be stitched individually, but I'm doing them all as one piece. And I started at the top with number 2, and let's see, this is what it will look like. So I've done up here and down here, and now I'm going to start doing this block here. This was my birthday start last year. My birthday is in May, so I don't think I'm going to have it done by my birthday this year. So I absolutely love this one. I love the pinks. I love the colors in here. So this has been stitched on 18 count antique white using the code for DMC. And as I said, I will come down to this block here and do that one next. So, when this one's done, I have another Jardin Privé in the wings to take over. They're one of my favorite design companies. And last but not least, you've seen this one a lot because I've really tried to put a lot of attention on it this year or last year. And it's paying off because I'm almost done. So this is my oldest active WIP, and I started it in August of 2020. And it kind of sat around. I started it and then it sat around for a while, but this year, yeah, I've stitched a lot on it. It's Twilight Bridge by Dimensions Gold Collection. And I want to say when I really got into it this year, I was up here. And I've come all the way over to here. I didn't take it completely out of the Q-snaps, but here we are. And I'm thrilled with the progress that I've been able to make this year. And right now I'm trying to do 200 stitches a day until it's done. So I've got this to do here. And then there's not much back stitching left. There's some couching left, and there's French knots, but I'm leaving those to the end so they don't get crushed by the Q-snap. So I have my next Dimensions Gold picked out, and when I'm done with this, I will start on that. I think it's called Balloon Glow. If you're familiar with the Dimensions kits, it's the one with the hot air balloons. So that's what I'm going to do next. And what's great and what's made it so much easier is that if you email simplicity.com, they will ask for proof of the fact that you own the kit. So you have to open it and show them that you've got all the supplies right there, that you're not just holding up the packet in the store without buying it. And then they will send you a PDF, which will load into Pattern Keeper. And that has been fantastic. Just makes it so much easier. Okay, those are all my WIPs. So I think there's 18 WIPs right now. But we'll talk about that later. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4 new starts planned in the next month or 6 weeks. So we'll talk about those, and then so this, I guess, would be part of plans. So I'm part of WIP Warriors, which is a Facebook challenge group, which has just closed to new members, but they will open again in November. And when you join there, you have to choose what category you want to be in. So they have Sweewee, where you can stitch what you want when you want. They have no new starts, so you basically just work on your current WIPs the whole year. And then they have, for this year, it's 25 and 25. So last year I had joined 24 and 24. This year I joined 25 and 25. Excuse me. And if you've watched me for any length of time, you know that I usually try and limit my WIPs to around 15 or 16. But this year I've decided to allow myself, if I want to go up to 25. Now, whether I will or not, I don't know, but I've given myself permission to do that. So right now I'm at 18 WIPs. So with these new starts, that will take me up to 22. If there's 4, no, I've got 5 planned. That will take me to 23. So we'll see how I manage it. Anyway, these are the planned new starts. The first one, well, let me start here. You're probably familiar with this book, and I'm one that doesn't tend to like to buy cross-stitch magazines or cross-stitch books, because I always figure there's going to be a whole ton in there that I'm not going to want to stitch. But people have been talking about this one for ages, and Helen D, who I'm sure most of you know, was stitching one of these, and I loved it so much that I thought, and I couldn't buy it anywhere else as far as I could find, so I bought the book, and now, like, there's 25 designs in the book, and now I've got at least 15 of them marked to be stitched this year, because I love them so much. So anyway, I'm really glad I got the book, which is Cross Stitched in the Forest by Pigeon Coop Designs. And the nice thing about these is they're mostly quite small. So I'm planning for the first one that I'm going to stitch, thanks to Helen D, is, if I can find it, Blizzard Valley. I've got all my little papers marking the pages that I'm going to stitch. So this is the one I'm going to do first. When I finish this, I'll start another one. Now, I was watching Karen, the Stitching Owl, the other day, and she was talking about she's going to do most of, if not all of these. I think she's going to do them as ornaments. So I'm going to stitch along with Karen, the Stitching Owl, throughout the year. So, and I think there's a hashtag for this, but I can't remember. I'll list it below if I can find it. So this first one I'm going to just stitch on, because it's full coverage. I'm going to do 20 count Aida, white Aida, because yeah, I want it to be really tiny. So I'm very excited about that. The colors are very pretty. And let me see how big it is. It's 84 by 84, but it is full coverage, so there'll be more stitching than I realized, probably. So that's going to be a start. The next one, again, because of Helen D, this is Robin Redbreast by Little Dove Designs. I think this is adorable. So I'm going to start that one. But since it's kind of whimsical, I decided I was going to stitch it on, what's this called? Snow on Aqua by Fabric Flair. So I think that will be cute. Again, it's quite small. Okay, the other winter one I'm going to start is a free chart from Owl Forest Embroidery. If you go to their website and click on free charts, you should find it. And hopefully I can find it on here. Yeah, this is called Let It Snow. And I think it's lovely. I think there's 3 free charts on there, but this was my favorite. There's another cute one with penguins, but this is the one I wanted to do. I'm stitching it with a friend, so I'll be stitching along with somebody on that one. And I'm thinking of doing it with just B5200s on 20 count. This is called Tundra by Stitch Me. Thank you, Patty. So that's what I'm thinking at the moment. We're going to start it on January 6th. So if there's any of you that are interested in stitching along, let me know. You can find me on Instagram at Mary's Stitching Corner, or you can leave a comment below. And then the last 2 that I have planned right now are Valentine's. So Tiny Modernist Valentine Terrarium. I haven't chosen the fabric yet for this one. And this one I've had for over a year, so it's time that I started it. This is Valentine's Day Quaker by Primrose Cottage Stitches. And I'm going to looks like I'm going to stitch it on 20 count, no, 18 count white Aida using the called for floss, which is ripe melon. So those are my planned starts, which will take me to more whips than I've ever had before. And you know, if I can't handle it, and you'll notice that most of these ones that I'm going to start are quite small. If I can't handle it, that's fine. I'll just go back to, you know, I'll just finish and then not add anymore till I get to a comfortable spot again. So that's all my stitching. So the challenge groups that I take part in, as you know, I take part in WIP Go, which I've been doing. This will be year 3 for me, and that's really helpful to me. I do the acrostics with Craft and Books and Magazine Monthly, their Facebook groups. And on Magazine Monthly this month they're doing Bringo, which I'm working on as well. So, and I'm also a member of WIP Warriors, which I really enjoy. So I'm doing quite a bit of challenges this year, and hopefully that will get me touching many of my whips and making good progress. So that is all my stitching stuff. I have, Laura is doing a few charts, or thinking of doing some charts this year that I'm interested in too, so I probably have a few stitch alongs with her. But yeah, other than that, that's all my stitchy stuff. So we'll talk quickly about books and then a little bit about life, and then we'll be done. So last year I read I'm on book 110. So yeah, I think I started this latest one before the new year. So 110 books. When I say I read, I listened to them on Audible or at my library. So I'm really, really pleased with the amount of reading or listening that I did. I find it quite relaxing to listen while I stitch. So I just wanted to touch on a couple of new series. I mean, they're not new books, but they're new to me, that I've been reading. And one of them is by Charlene Harris. She's the one that wrote the Sookie Stackhouse series. So the first book is Grave Sight, S-I-G-H-T. And it's about a girl who was struck by lightning, and it gave her the ability to sense dead bodies. So she's kind of a private investigator of sorts that is hired by people who are trying to find their missing loved ones. And so I've quite enjoyed it. It's very different than the Sookie Stackhouse series. There's not much humor in them, but I've quite enjoyed it. So I read the first one, Grave Sight, and then I read the second one. I shouldn't have closed my book. Let's see. Which was called Grave Surprise. And I have the third one on hold at the library. So yeah, I've enjoyed it. So if you haven't read them and you're looking for something different to read, then give it a try. The other one I just found by accident recently, and I think this is a series that has lots and lots of books. I don't know how many. The author is Carolyn Haynes, and the first book in the series is called Them Bones. And I'm reading the second one, which is, sorry, I'm losing my voice, which is called Buried Bones. And, excuse me, I've enjoyed them. They're not great, and I probably won't read more than, I mean, you can never predict. Maybe I'll get sucked down the rabbit hole and read them all, but at this point, I probably wouldn't read all of them. But it's about a girl that lives in, I think it's Mississippi. A girl, she's a lady. She's the last in her line, and she inherited the family home, but there's so much debt that she's in danger of losing the home. So kind of by being devious and also by accident, she falls into the role of becoming a private investigator. So she also has a resident ghost in her house. Her great-grandmother's maid, I think. And but it's not really about a haunting, other than this ghost is actually very critical of her and is trying to push her into getting married so that the line won't die with her. And so yeah, they're intriguing, they're enjoyable, they're not amazing, but again, if you're looking for something different to look, I would recommend it. So last month, or the month before, I read the first book in the Thursday Murder Club series by Richard Osman, and I just finished The Man Who Died Twice, which was the second book in the series, and I absolutely loved it. The first book I really liked. I thoroughly enjoyed it. But the second book, I was so much more comfortable with the characters, and it was great. I would highly recommend this series, which is going to be made into a movie, and no, it's going to be on Netflix, but I heard it's going to have a theatre release for a few weeks first, and then it'll go to Netflix. And they've got Helen Mirren, Ben Kingsley, Pierce Brosnan, and there's a few other people I can't think of right now, but they've got really big stars that are going to star in this movie, and so I'm very excited to see it. But the books are fabulous, so I'm looking forward to reading number 3. But I definitely recommend it. So other than I'm going to keep reading and listening and so on and so forth, that's all my book stuff. So life, yeah, we had a nice Christmas. Yeah, I don't think I've even seen you since Thanksgiving. So we had a nice Thanksgiving, but my daughter had a horrible thing happen. Basically, just a long story short, she went to the ER because of a health problem that flared up and caused another problem. They gave her some medicine which fixed the problem almost immediately. But the next day she woke up and experienced lockjaw, I guess. It's called TMJ dislocation. And she was in agony, absolute agony, because her jaw kept popping in and out of its joint, and then it would lock. And we try and pry it open, and you could not pry her mouth open. And it was so painful for her. So they had sent us home with this medication, a pill form of the medication they gave her at the ER. But when I looked it up to see how often we could give it to her, the first thing that came up was that it could cause this TMJ dislocation. So we decided, no, better not take it. So she went back to the ER again. They said, no, this medicine won't cause that. You've only had 1 dose and it's not a high dose. So they gave it to her again. Because you trust your doctors, you know. So it didn't work this time. So she ended up, they had to give her morphine because she was screaming in pain. I've never dislocated anything. I can't even imagine the pain, but Katrina's pretty tough because she's got a lot of health issues that she has to deal with, and she deals with them with a pretty good attitude. So I knew that this had to be horrible for her. So she ended up having to have morphine and another painkiller, which worked. But the next day she got up, and when that wore off, the whole thing started again. Had to go back to the ER again. And this time the doctor listened and he said, let's not give you that. Let's just give you your morphine. But go to your, give her morphine, another painkiller, and a muscle relaxer this time. He said, go to your orthodontist because she's wearing braces for TMJ. She had braces when she was a kid, but the dentist didn't align her teeth properly. So she went to her orthodontist. He checked. He said, there's nothing wrong with your jaw. He said, I think it's this medication. Once it gets out your system, it will get better, which thankfully it did. But oh my goodness, what a horrible weekend it was. Horrible. And my husband is in the dental industry, and he knows how the jaw works. And for hours, he massaged her face to try and stop the jaw from locking. And he was exhausted, she was exhausted, and that's why she ended up at the ER again. But she's good. It's fine. Just need to figure out what caused the original problem. And then the stress of that, stress of the holidays, everything obviously makes my stuff worse. And then our weather changed and became very stormy, which always messes with my head in the sense that I get silent migraines or vestibular migraines, which cause terrible dizziness. But we're good at the moment. So we had a nice Thanksgiving. My mother-in-law was here, my stepson, and our friend Japanese friend who lives in the basement. She came up and joined us. We had a nice Christmas. My mother-in-law was here, and Aida was here again. And then we had, can you hear my dog snoring? She's across the room. She's so loud. Anyway, then we had a very quiet New Year, which is what we wanted because, yeah, we just were tired. And it was my daughter Sarah's birthday on New Year's Day, so we celebrated that. But I'm looking forward to getting back into normality and back into a normal routine again. And so yeah, I hope that everything is good with you. I hope that if you celebrated the holidays that you had a good time. I hope that this year will be a good year for you, and reach out, let's connect, let's stitch together. In the meantime, please take care, and I will see you next time. Bye for now.